Okay, so after the test, we didn't really have a place to put in these next 3 lessons. So these are kind of our random lessons, but we do have to cover it. So the first one we're going to talk about is direct variation. Direct variation is a specific relationship in which there is a constant rate between all ordered pairs. And direct variation equations are written in the form y equals kx. You'll notice that that looks kind of familiar. We're used to seeing y equals mx plus b, okay? And the difference is y equals mx plus b has a y-intercept. When it comes to direct variation, the y-intercept is 0. So that's really what we're checking for whenever we are checking to see if a relationship varies directly, okay? So these first 4 questions, they want us to identify what the slope is, or the k in this case, but it's the same thing as the slope. So we are going to perform a linear regression because it's the simplest thing to do. So we are going to, on this first list of coordinates, we're going to type them in carefully. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the left, then 4, 8, 12, 16 on the right. Stat over to calc number 4, enter, 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 enter. So if you notice, my equation gives me a slope and the y-intercept is 0. That's what makes it a direct variation question. So my slope, or my k for this one, is 4. That's my answer. Number 2, they want us to perform linear regression again. So we're going to clear what's there from the last problem. We're going to type in -6, -4, 0, and 2 on the left, then 3, 2, 0, -1 on the right. Perform linear regression by going to stat over to calc number 4. Again, this is direct variation because the y-intercept is 0, but my slope, or my k in this case, is -0.5. They could ask you to leave it -0.5 or convert it to a fraction, which would be -1/2. We're going to do the same exact thing, but this time we are given tables. So -12, -6, 0, and 3 on the left. -8, -4, 0, and 2 on the right. Stat over to calc number 4. Enter, 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 enter. So this is direct variation because my y-intercept is 0, but we focus on the slope, which in this case is 0.6 repeating. Ignore the 7 at the end. We want to convert it to a fraction, so negative, or 0.66666 all the way across. Alpha y4 to convert it to a fraction is 2/3. Number 4, last one on this section, -4, -1, 3, and 5 on the left. Then 12, 3, -9, -15 on the right. Stat over to calc number 4. Enter, 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 enter. Oh my gosh, make sure I did that right. -4, -1, 3, 12, 3. Oh, missed one. Make sure I always type it in correctly because I got a crazy answer. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Okay. So my slope, and this is direct variation because b is 0, the y-intercept, and my slope, which is the k, is -3. Okay. Now they want us to identify if it represents direct variation, and then identify the constant of variation, which is the slope. So how we identify whether it is a direct variation problem is if the y-intercept is 0. Okay. So if I look at number 5, y equals 3x. My slope is 3, so this is my k. And it is direct variation because y-intercept is 0. There's nothing there. Number 6, my y-intercept is 0, so this would be a direct variation problem. And my slope, or my k, is -4/5. Number 7, be careful here because at first glance, it looks like it is a direct variation because it looks like the y-intercept is 0, but this one is actually the y-intercept. 2 is the y-intercept. And since it's not 0, this is no for direct variation, which means it does not have a constant k. Number 8, I'm going to solve for y because they don't make it that simple. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So y equals 5 over 2x. My y-intercept is 0, so this is yes. And my constant k is 5 over 2. Number 9, my y-intercept here is negative 4, which makes this an automatic no. Number 10, my y-intercept is 0, so this is a yes. And my slope would be negative 1. My k would be negative 1. Number 11, solve for solve for y, so I divide by 2. So y equals 1/2 x. My y-intercept is 0, so yes. And my constant k, which is my slope, is 1/2. Number 12, in order to figure this out, I need to solve for y, converting standard to slope intercept. So I'm going to subtract 4x to both sides. So 2y equals negative 4x plus 6. I'm going to divide by 2 to everything. So y equals negative 2x plus 3. Since my y-intercept is not 0, this would be no, not direct variation. Number 13, going to solve. So I have to subtract 5x. So y equals negative 5x. Since my y-intercept is 0, this is a direct variation problem, and my k, which is my slope, is negative 5. Let's see if we can identify whether it's direct variation from a graph. So it's the same idea, but first we check to see if my y-intercept is 0. And in this case, we're looking at does it cross the origin, which is the center. If I look at number 14, okay, ask yourself this one question. Does it cross the origin? And since this one does cross the origin, this is a yes. Then we want to identify the slope, which is my k now. My slope is doing rise over run. So this is 1, 2, 3 on my rise, 2 on my run. 3 over 2, if I type it in, it simplifies to 3 over 2, and it would be positive 3 over 2. Number 15, ask yourself this question. Does it pass through the origin? And since it does not, this would be a no. And that means it does not have a constant of variation. Number 16, does it cross the origin? Yes. Then we identify the slope, or my constant of variation. So my rise is 1, my run is 4. Rise over run is 1 over 4. It would be negative because the right side is pointed down. And if I type this in, it simplifies to 1 over 4. So my constant of variation is negative 1 over 4. Number 17, does it cross through the origin? Yes. Then we identify the slope, or the constant of variation. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 3 over 3 simplifies to 1, and this would be positive 1 because it's going upward. Now, the meat of this is being able to identify missing pieces if my relationship varies directly, okay? So honestly, all you have to do is set up a proportion, all right? So what I mean by proportion, we're going to set up two fractions, okay, where we put y over x and y over x and cross multiply for what we're solving for. So if I look at number 18, okay, I have my x and I have my y. I have my x and I have my y. So my first fraction is my y over the x. So this is negative 4 over 2. And then my second fraction is the second coordinate, which is y over negative 6. All I have done is set up two different fractions, y over x, y over x. But if you noticed on my second one, they didn't give me the y, so we leave it as y, the variable. Now all we're going to do is cross multiply. That means we're going to multiply negative 4 times negative 6 and then divide by 2. Simple multiplication and division. Negative 4 times negative 6, and then divide that answer by 2. So my missing y value is 12. Number 19, I'm going to set up two fractions, okay? My first fraction, we're going to put y over x, so 16 over 4. Then my second fraction, we're going to put y over x. So this is 24 over x. Notice they did not give me this x value, so that's what we're solving for. So we're going to cross multiply, which means 4 times 24 divide by 16 equals 6. So my missing x value is 6. They could set up their problems like this, or they could give it to me in words, which is the same idea. Number 22, if y equals negative 18 and x equals 3, so my first fraction is negative 18 over 3, equals find x when y equals 30. So y over x, so 30 over x, they want me to find what that x value is. It is really, really important that we're setting these up correctly. If I put y over x, then I have to put y over x on the second fraction. You can't do y over x and then x over y. You have to keep it consistent. Now we're going to cross multiply. So 3 times 30, divide that by negative 18, and I get my missing x value is negative 5. Last one. If y equals 80 when x equals 32, so my first fraction is 80 over 32. My second fraction, find x when y equals 100, y is 100, so that goes on top over x. Y over x, y over x. I'm going to cross multiply. So 100, oops, not 1,000, times 32, divide by 80. Okay, so my missing x value equals 40. So just remember when it comes to solving for that missing value, that we're setting up our equation y over x equals y over x. So that way when we cross multiply, it'll come out correctly.